Show me your screens, everybody. This is the most beloved project. I save it for last because 2 reasons. Number 1, let's look at the icon statement actually really quick. It kind of takes everything we've done in the last 20 weeks and actually applies it. So there's a bunch of little creative writing skills we've done. Now you're going to put those to the test. Most of the literary terms, right? I've forced a lot of knowledge into your brain. Now we're going to actually utilize all of that knowledge. So we're going to try and write part of a novel. Don't let that freak you out because, like I said, this for real is about 80% of every former creative writer's favorite. And I know that because I make people take a survey at the end, and I ask them what they like and what they didn't like, and I get rid of the stuff that not enough people liked. And this one, most everybody, it starts out maybe not realizing, you might not realize at the beginning why it's magical and great, and then by the end, people are like, more! And we can't because you guys only have my class for not that much longer. So that being said, I've heard people say this one in really weird ways. It's fun for me to hear how people mess up saying this. So it's kind of a weird acronym. It's called NaNoWriMo. I always like remembering this one girl last year who she just made up weird different things every time. She liked to call it stuff like NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo. Practice saying it. NaNoWriMo. It stands for National Novel Writing Month. I also just want to point out the meme. This is one of the most true creative writing memes, in my opinion. I made it the meme of the week on purpose. You get some authors who are like, come with me. Let's go on a magical journey. And some other authors who are like, I'm going to break your spirit, right? And it's so true in my experience. You kind of get one or the other. So that being said, NaNoWriMo is a nonprofit organization. They are people who, it is technically a company, but they're not in business to make money. They're in business to help people. So I'm going to show you, we're going to start by kind of getting hyped by watching 3 videos, they're short, from the NaNoWriMo people, because that's part of their nonprofit business, is they put out really high quality resources for people trying to write a part of their first novel. So your job is to keep your screen facing forward, but just sit back, kind of just let this wash over you, and we'll get into specifics after we watch these. Good morning.
Every year when I present this challenge, I wonder, will this be the year that students will say, no, I can't do this? Yet every year I see those kids have a story to tell. So planners out, and notebooks, and pen or pencil. When I look back on my own learning about reading and writing, there was not a lot of writing that I felt ownership over. I've always been most comfortable with writing expository nonfiction, and when I heard about NaNoWriMo, I thought, 8th graders writing a novel? That's impossible, and I couldn't even imagine writing a novel. You guys are ready for the 30-day challenge? As far as projects go, this one is big. NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month, and it's a challenge for young writers to write a novel in the 30 days of November. You'll start...
Hold on, sorry. I forgot to mention this. So the rest of the world does NaNoWriMo in November. We're doing it in December. It doesn't actually matter when you do it. Also, the other thing I forgot to mention, today would be a day where if you have AirPods in, even if there's no music, I would take them and give them to the office. So rather than just be evil, I'm trying to give you the heads up. No headphones until I say it's time. So take them out completely, even if there's no music. Okay.
Brainstorming what settings are going to be part of your story. A lot of them say, I can't do this. I'm afraid, I don't want to do it. The counselors say that kids will show up at their office saying, please move me out of Mrs. Bradley's class. Does she know I'm only 13? So one of the first challenges was my own fear that they would not have stories to tell.
Okay, what's your setting?
When I had them brainstorm their stories, and then we all sat in a circle and I had them share out, one after another, I was blown away at the creativity and the passion, the voices that they had that they needed to share.
The opening scene of my novel will be a flashback to my main character's grandfather in the prisoner of war camp.
He's eating takeout Chinese with his mom, who just got out of open heart surgery.
And from up above, Leo looked down at young Leo. He looked down and smiled. He smiled for Leo for moving on, for saving the universe. Well, the two of them.
That's amazing. These students speak with such authority. They know what the characters are going to do. They know where the plot is going. They know the conflicts that have to be worked through. And they know how it all will end. I'm peeking over your shoulders and it's just amazing. I'm so impressed. I remember as a student being pretty excited to take my writing and staple it into a pretty construction paper cover, and that was publishing. But my students now are able to send the Amazon link to their relatives and share their novel with the world. I hope that they recognize that what used to seem impossible really is possible for them, and that they leave my class going on to high school identifying as a writer. That when a teacher asks them to write something, they in their mind will say, I can do this because I've written a novel.
Okay, so I know a lot of the feeling right now is like, this is scary, I don't think I can do this, but I promise you, you really can, and that's part of the reason I'm showing you these little short videos. I think it's helpful to see other people your age doing this.
We need stories because they help us to understand the world.
Heard of the ghost train in the newspaper?
So many of our kids, they don't see themselves in the books that they're reading. They don't see their faces, they don't see their surroundings, their home lives.
NaNoWriMo is many things. On one hand, it's a simple challenge to write a novel in 30 days. But it's really much more than that. It's a way to realize your creative potential. It's a way to find your voice as a writer. It's a way to develop the grit and resilience necessary to tackle audacious goals.
We empower students to actually tell their stories, to write their worlds.
My novel is about being famous.
And the boy and the girl fall in love.
Potions and magic and
A girl with an eating disorder.
And how sometimes famous people have to hide that they're queer.
Because they can write about anything they want, they get really excited about their ideas.
Not worrying about spelling, not worrying about grammar, not worrying about punctuation. For now, just write.
Each year, more than 100,000 kids sign up to write novels with NaNoWriMo's Young Writers program. It's all free for the kids who sign up independently from schools and the teachers who teach it in their classrooms. We have Common Core aligned curriculum, but NaNoWriMo offers this wonderful, expansive, creative exercise that goes beyond standardized tests.
The first year that I did this, I learned more about writing than in 2 decades that I've been teaching writing. So it's really changed the way I teach.
To write a novel in 30 days, you have to hit your word count and your goals every day. And by writing a lot, you learn to write well.
Yes, we're not working on expository writing, we're not writing essays, we're not talking about topic sentences, but those things fall into place so much more easily for our kids after they've done this.
It gives them confidence because they take on something that seems to be so daunting, but it's broken down into these daily goals.
Can we get 500, you think?
Sure.
NaNoWriMo really breaks down the mythology of the solitary writer. All the great writers had a writing community, and that's the thing that NaNoWriMo really emphasizes. And so people gather online in the forums, or in classrooms, or in libraries, and they write together.
Students are constantly checking in with each other. How many words have you written? What did you write today? What did you write yesterday?
Will and Jared just met their word count goal. So let's celebrate.
And then as we approach the end of the month, excitement often goes up because they want to get to their goal. It's an amazing experience.
I'm Oscar. I'm writing a sequel to my first book about a boy named Oscar, me.
Writing has never been more important to society, in the workplace, in schools, at home.
We are preparing them for life by writing a novel, by having fun and being creative.
I think writing is just the fabric of who we are and why we're here on this planet.
And by writing a novel, you begin to believe that you can create other things, and you see yourself as a creator.
Okay, one more short one, and then we're gonna get into specifics, but sit tight for just another second here.
Hi, my name is Ariana. I'm in 8th grade, and I'm writing a book about a corrupt government that went too far.
I'm Wally, and I'm writing a book about a kid with supernatural abilities.
I'm writing a novel about a girl getting sucked into an alternate universe.
My book is about trying to escape an island.
People trying to figure out what happened to their very healthy, yet for some reason dying father.
I'm Caitlin, and I wrote my first novel, Neglected Heroes, when I was in the 8th grade.
When I think of a novel, I think about a pretty fat book, and writing that much seems pretty impossible.
Especially when my teacher first said it, she was just like, "You're gonna write a book." And I was like, "What?"
I also felt super freaked out because I had no idea what I was gonna do.
I was convinced that it was only something that adults were allowed to do.
The biggest challenge was setting up all the characters and then getting the setting.
And to take that feedback and to turn it into something better.
I think the most exciting part about writing this novel in 30 days is that I never thought I'd do it.
It is possible to write a book in just 1 month.
When I published my novel, I felt invincible.
Well, now impossible just seems so much more reachable.
Don't give up.
Everyone has a story.
Well, the ending of my story is going to be the main character's friends die. Yeah.
And then they're going to defeat the bad guy at the end.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying, I hope that you'll trust me. I've done this for 14 years, multiple times a year, right? Because I usually have multiple creative writing classes. So trust the process here. Okay, so I want to next kind of segue into another answer to why. Because not only is it why, because we're applying everything we've done, but, and this is a little corny, guys, we're made of stories. It's true. Everything that's important in life is usually based on a story, right? If it's a certain movie that really changed your life, or you were sitting around the Thanksgiving table and your family were telling stories, right? That's what's in our heart. And so why not be a part of that, right? It really is the deepest, most important things usually in our lives is centered around stories. So, again, NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. And I kind of briefly mentioned this, but this gets bigger every year. There's people all around the nation who do this every November. Not only students your age, but also adults do this all the time. It's become such a big deal that it's also now a worldwide phenomenon. So it really, you're going to be part of this huge community that you might not realize about. So you're not going to write the whole novel. I think that's the most important thing to start out with. Some kids do. It definitely happens every year. But I'm going to give you an attainable goal. We're going to work on it for about 10 days, and we'll see what we can do, okay? One of the best things about this is absolute total freedom. That you're really, really encouraged to write something that gets you excited. And the only thing you need to be worried about, if your mom was sitting here, like I've said before, she's reading over your shoulder, my mom would yell at me for lots of things. I would have to censor myself, right? But it really does not matter to me. As long as you know that you are not going against your family values. Mary, will you stop? It's making me, I can't concentrate on anything else. Okay, so another thing with freedom, you can literally do anything you want, including continuing an older project. So maybe you started something for Free Write Friday one week that you're really excited about, or maybe you want to do your script and continue it in novel form, or your multi-genre story and continue it in novel form, or maybe you just want to start from scratch. Any of those are totally okay. If you are going to continue something old, you have to really, really obviously indicate what's old and new. And by obvious, I mean like pink sparkly unicorn obvious. Like, here's what I started from December 2nd onwards. That kind of a thing. Another cool thing about this is most people do want to get published. It was just kind of this thing that not a lot of people are willing to admit, but it's a thing, right? Especially in the writing world. It's just setting aside the time is the hardest part. So there's this phenomenon that happens to me whenever I tell somebody I'm a teacher, okay? The first thing they say is, what do you teach? And I tell them middle school, and then their response is like, oh, poor you. And I'm always like, no, it's actually fun. They're super weird. It's entertaining. And then the second thing is they ask what I teach, and I tell them debate and creative writing. And when I say creative writing, it's like 80% of the response is, oh, I always wanted to write a book. And then I tell them, okay, go do it. And it's this weird thing. Some people are like, ha, and some people are like, oh. I don't know why people are just waiting for someone to give them permission. There's no secret induction ceremony, you guys. Literally anyone can write a book. I think a lot of us think, well, it's only those shiny authors who are allowed to write. No, they all started out not knowing anything, and that's how it works. So I'm giving you permission. It's just kind of cool. Like, there's so many people in my life who they'll tell me that, and then I've convinced many people, just go do it. You just have to put your butt in a chair and start writing. That's the only way it gets written. So that's what we're doing. We're setting aside the time, because otherwise it's impossible. So another cool thing it does is it teaches stamina. So what I mean by that is we're really good at bite-sized writing. We can do little bits here and there, but NaNoWriMo kind of forces you to get to this next level of writing where I can do the long haul. Like, I can go all out. I can do that marathon of writing. And it's pretty motivating at the same time. And if it's not motivating enough, there are major prizes in NaNoWriMo. So I know you can't see it from far away, but I'm going to show you. I'll be honest, when I first started, it was like, yay, you get a candy bar. And I have crazy changed how I do NaNoWriMo. Usually it ends up being about $50 worth of prizes for one student. And I have 3 creative writing classes. So I've been collecting and begging, put it in your pocket, prizes since last year. So I'm not going to tell you all of them, but some of you are motivated by stuff, and I get it. So I'm going to tell you some of them. So first of all, I have this thing called Donors Choose, where you publish a project on the internet, and you try and convince people, here's what this is, here's why you're donating money, it's a really worthy cause, please donate. And I got my project, it got fully funded, which means I was able to buy a bunch of really cool, I call them writing swag prizes from Amazon because somebody donated a bunch of money. So I've been collecting those since the end of last year. I then went and talked to Mr. Gardner, and he loves rewarding people for anything extra, and so he's doing a bunch of stuff. I have my husband 3D print really, really cool stuff. That's just a small part of it. It's not just like, here's some candy. It's like, here's 6 candy bars, full-size candy bars, that kind of a thing. Usually, like I said, it ends up being like $50 worth of prizes. Last year, I had to transform the vault. I had so many prizes, and the same thing's happening this year. I can't even have all the prizes here because there's just not enough room, so a bunch of them are at my house. But I have to transform the vault into a prize-giving marathon or extravaganza. It's really cool. And kids who were the winners last year were like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be this. So I know for some of you that's motivating, but not everybody. Yeah.
So if you write this, you can actually get that as a book?
Yes, that will be the end of the project. I'll teach you about the publishing process because it's really involved, but yes, it's really, really cool. And for some people, that's even more motivating. So one thing I'm going to encourage you is to do something that sets it apart as special writing time if you want. It's not required. But for example, I had a kid who started this trend because he was like, Mrs. Coates, can I bring a Snuggie? And I didn't believe him that he would, and he did. And every single day, it really did, like, get his brain into writing mode, because his brain thought, oh, the Snuggie is going on, it is time to write. And he wrote a lot because he just felt comfortable. I had a girl one year, she brought a menagerie of stuffed animals, and had them all around her keyboard, and they were her little writing buddies. And they were just there like, go you, keep writing. I've had kids who create their, I'm going to kick butt, I'm going to write so much writing playlist amazingness. That's highly encouraged. For some kids, it's just like, I'm going to bring snacks. These are my special writing snacks. And that's highly encouraged and absolutely okay. Whatever it is that you want to do, and lots of people don't take me up on that, but I have noticed the kids who do that, they have higher word counts. So something to consider. We can lock that stuff. If you do bring something special for NaNoWriMo, we can lock stuff in the vault and then get it out when you're ready to write that day. So let's talk about how it's graded. It's actually really, really, really easy. Because I've done it for 14 years, multiple times a year, I have it down to a science, you guys. I know exactly what's doable for everyone. Because that's another cool thing about NaNoWriMo, is it will be wildly different for all of you. And it works for everybody. So we're going to do this for 10 days. And every day until December 18th is when we'll stop. You will get 25 points a day for writing 250 words a day. Now that sounds like a lot, but if I had 250 words on this paper, it would be like this much, about half the page. And I'm going to prove it to you that that's super, super doable because people don't believe me. 250 basically is nothing. Like, you can sneeze 250 words accidentally. Most kids for real get 600 words a day with just a little bit of effort. If you put in a lot of effort, getting 1,000 words a day is extremely doable. So 250 sounds scary, but it's for real not. So that's how you get your 250 practice points. It's not assessment. It's a lot of practice points, so it definitely will affect your grade. But I've done this so much, basically there will be one kid per class who doesn't get the full 250 points. And that's because something went really, really wrong, or they just really didn't try, okay? Otherwise, you'll be totally fine. So that means you're going to be writing 2,500 words total, which is just a couple of chapters. So if we went over to the bookshelf and we pulled off a novel, most normal size novels are about 50,000 words. And that sounds insane, but I have kids every single year who end up writing a full book in this time. It gets bigger every year, which is insane. Last year, I don't have a brain anymore because it exploded, because it was nuts. I actually had several people get in the 80,000 or higher category, with two of them, her name was Anya McHale, and currently it's still at Albion, is Corinza Meisner. They wrote more than 102,000 words. So they didn't just write a book, they wrote a long book. And it's this really cool thing of, I can surprise myself. I can do something I did not think was possible. And for some people, that's the most motivating thing, is I want to be the person who is one of those superstars. And not everybody will, and that's totally fine. Don't let that make you think that that's where you have to be successful, because you don't. So I want to point out a line that they said in one of those videos I showed you, because it really is very, very true. He's actually the director of the nonprofit organization. His name is Grant Faulkner, and he said, by writing a lot, they learn to write well, which is insanely true. That we are gonna just go, and that process is part of becoming a better writer. So, a big question I get asked is, are you gonna read them? I have 90 creative writers right now. So no, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's impossible. That does mean, though, it's going to stay private. And for a lot of kids, that's a big sense of relief. That I know a lot of you don't want someone seeing your writing until you feel like it's good enough. So that should be a weight off your shoulders. That it's really not going to be something that I'm seeing unless you're one of the kids who will come over during class and be like, I just wrote this. It's so awesome. Read this. Not enough kids take me up on that offer. Because they think they're bothering me. You're not. It's just, I also know that so many kids don't want someone seeing their stuff until they're ready. So I'm going to kind of be hands off because I'm giving you the space to be comfortable writing what you actually want to write. But if you want feedback, you're going to show me during class, okay? So what to expect in class, I'm almost done. Stick with me. Let me do another coin. And Jane, go ahead and do another round of tickets for me. So what to expect during class is you'll come in, we'll do a little vocab lesson, and then one of the things that the Young Writers program does for NaNoWriMo, they basically worked with a bunch of famous published authors. Sorry, it's been glitchy. It'll happen, but we just have to give it time to think. Okay, but they coordinated with a bunch of published authors and said, okay, so there's all these kids trying to do this big thing. How can we help them? Do you have advice? Can you pep them up? So we'll do little pep talks from really famous authors that are awesome. And then you'll have as much writing time as I can give you. But the end of class changes a little bit as well, because we will start, if you see up here on the whiteboard, we'll start making it into a competition, which a lot of people get really motivated by this. That it's basically your trash talking first and sixth period of like, we are so much better than you because look how much better our word counts than you, like how much higher they are than yours. So this takes just a couple of extra minutes at the end of the period. So we end up cleaning up a little bit sooner than normal. So that's kind of how what class will look like for the next 10 days. This is a really important little thing, and it's easy to do. You have to give yourself permission to fail, and that sounds really weird. But what I mean by that is you absolutely are not allowed to focus on spelling, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, any of that. And I'm serious about that because I know a lot of you see the squiggly red line and you're like, the squiggly red line. You're going to leave it, which will go against your instincts because at Albion, we are very much like, your writing has to be perfect. But on NaNoWriMo, it's very much going to be not perfect. You're going to just leave it. Because if you constantly fall into the mode of, I have to edit, I have to make it perfect as I'm going, you just won't get anything written. So we're going to give ourselves permission to leave imperfections. I can go change it later, but we're going to leave them and just move on, because that's the only way novels get written, is you have to write over and over and over and over. Yes?
What if we're done with cleaning after the day?
Then you're allowed to go through the squiggly red lines, but not until we're cleaning up. But you'll see what I mean. The end of class is kind of crazy, so you might not have a lot of time. I want you to imagine you have an inner editor. Imagine there's this little writing angel on your shoulder, maybe a devil, you could choose. And they sit there just judging you all the time. They're like, hey, you just used the wrong grammar right there. Or, hey, that was our coin, it finally went through. Or, oh, you totally spelled something wrong. That inner editor is usually there. I want you to imagine murdering your inner editor. Temporarily. He can come back to life, or she, or whatever. But they're going away. The inner editor, bye-bye. They don't exist for this project. Flick them off into nothing, and they can come back later. But exactly, good job. But no more editing every single thing. Just focus on the writing. Okay, so almost done here. One of the things you're going to have to choose, and you have until tomorrow, is where to do your writing. And that sounds a little weird. In the past, I used to force everyone to use the Young Writers Program website. But I decided it's just better to give people the most choice possible. So if you want to write on a Google Doc, that's 100% okay. It's probably the easiest thing to set up. However, it is nowhere near as cool as the motivating stuff they have on this website. There's a couple of things I'll point out, and you have time during class tomorrow to get an account set up if you want. One of the cool things, it literally celebrates you. It's this funny phenomenon where kids will be getting lost in the world of their novel, and all of a sudden your computer makes a noise that sounds like it's a woohoo sound. And it makes kids jump of ah! But it's also fun at the same time because it celebrates every time you hit a new milestone. It's like, hey, you hit a new milestone! And it has this cool graph that's super motivating for some kids. It also has all these built-in features, like it forces you to not focus on editing too much. It actually purposely restricts your writing so that you can't try and make it super, super perfect. Unlike a Google Doc, it has full editing capability. NaNoWriMo kind of restricts you a little bit. So some kids love that, some kids hate that. That's why I'm letting you choose. It also has a lot of built-in features, like, hey, you're stuck. Here's a thing to help get you unstuck. And it's just right there at your fingertips, which Google Docs doesn't really have that. So we'll talk about that more in just a second, but you get to choose for yourself. So we have to talk about ChatGPT because it's getting so much worse. And not just ChatGPT, obviously, but artificial intelligence in general. So let's be real, okay? You might get away with it, right? You might. It could happen. And great. Sure, I guess if you are able to pull that off, then okay. But if you do get caught, it's bad, especially bad on this project. So I'm just going to be really honest with you. Here's what would happen. These are actual steps. I just had to do this again right before Thanksgiving break. It ruined this poor kid's Thanksgiving. But this is legit what happens, okay? Number one, you and I have a really awkward conversation that is awkward for you and for me. I don't like it either. Number two, I lower your citizenship to a U and it stays there. Number three, I email all of your teachers and let them know that you think you can get away with it, and they should be on the lookout that you think that you can get away with cheating. Number four, it goes on your permanent record. Teachers have a file sharing system that every single teacher throughout middle school and high school will see that you thought you could get away with cheating. Number five, you end up basically failing this project, which will take your letter grade in my class down from about 2 letter grades, so from an A to a C. Number six, most important to me, is I can't trust you anymore. it takes this, I love my relationships with my creative writers, and now I'm like, oh, now I can't trust that kid, and I maybe slightly like them less, because I thought they were really awesome, and I guess they're not. Then, the last most important thing, this is a true story, and it's actually more important than everything else. So this is a guy named Scott, who I went to the University of Utah. We were in what's called the same cohort, so we went through the teaching program together, and Scott got almost all the way through. He made it through student teaching, which is like pulling out all of your teeth at the same time with rusty pliers. It's really, really hard. And Scott made it through all of this time, all of this effort, 5 years of college, because it takes extra time to become a teacher, thousands of dollars, blood, sweat, and tears getting through your college program. And then he got tired, cheated on one thing, didn't get away with it, got caught. They took away not only his teaching license, he did not graduate. Every other college, then that again goes on your permanent record. They like can't go to college anymore after that. And it honestly, guys, it ruined his life. I'm friends with him on when I used to have Facebook. I don't anymore, but I when I used to have it, he just now works at Pizza Hut, like it for real. And so I know it seems like a little thing, like I'm just gonna do it this one time. I might get away with it. It might be fine. But it's almost like a gateway drug. I know that sounds dumb, but when you get like a taste of it and you're like, oh, I can just do that now. Like that's such an easy thing. That's why I personally deeply care. I don't want your life to get ruined like Scott. I don't want this to be the time where you learned that it was okay and it's actually not. So that's the end of that conversation. But I will say there's about 1 billion different ways I can check for it. And on such a major project where there's so much on the line, there's so many expensive prizes, I check very carefully. So you've been warned. Okay, moving on though. So today's going to be about brainstorming, and you won't be able to finish. I fully am expecting you not to finish this brainstorm tomorrow. That's why on Canvas it says it's not due until tomorrow. So you're going to maybe start just a little bit, and then you're going to do it, you're going to finish tomorrow. Jane, go ahead and do another round of tickets. So the brainstorm is from the NaNoWriMo people, and I'm going to show you just a couple of quick things, but ask your question first.
Wait, so when does it does the project start today?
No. So, I mean, yes, but no at the same time. Your first official writing day is on Wednesday. Because tomorrow you'll need to finish the brainstorm, get your novel set up, and for a lot of you that's going to be on the website, which takes a little bit of extra time. It's not that bad, though. And then you'll have a little bit of time to write. So Wednesday is your first official writing day.
You said we can continue
yes. Yep.
Do we have to still do the brainstorm?
Yes, and the reason why is it helps you take an idea and make sure it is fully fleshed out, like you really are ready to go. And it's not just a brainstorm, it's also a couple of other things. So I'm not going to read this to you. Some of you will skip this, and I will be sad for you if you do. It will take you 45 seconds. This is from the Young Writer Program people. It's really funny and sarcastic in a good way. It's full of good advice, and it just kind of adds to the hype. So I hope that you actually will read it. And then after that is a little bit more about murdering your inner editor. And they make it funny, and there's this part with pressing the big red button of death. And again, that only takes like 30 seconds to read. So please actually read it. And then you get to the brainstorm part, which, even if you think you have an idea, I do want you to do this because I'm sure some of you have experienced this. Sometimes you think you've got the world's best idea and you start writing and then you're like, oh, this is a hot pile of garbage. This is trying to prevent that from happening and making sure that your story is enough that you can actually make a novel out of it. So I'm not going to read you the instructions, but this part's really, really easy. Most of you will only get this far today. That's as far as you'll make it, and then you'll stop and you'll continue it tomorrow. But I will just point out really quickly, so once you have your idea, even if you already have a character, again, this is still helpful, even if you already have a protagonist, because it's helping you make sure you've actually thought through it deeply enough. And then, I've said it before, and I will say it again, you don't have a story unless you have conflict. So this is helping you really think about the conflict. Do I have enough? And then just a brief plot line. And even if you already know your story, really making sure that you know where you're going helps you get there a lot easier. So at the end is a little funny contract. It's like a 1-minute read, and I can't force you to read it, but I hope that you will. It really does kind of make the experience, like, this is official. And so you have to read and you have to sign it saying like, yeah, I actually read it and I'm your witness. Like, yes, I actually did this. So again, that's not due today. While you're working on the brainstorm, I recommend grabbing a pair of headphones so you can just get lost in the world. But go ahead and get started on the brainstorm and you won't have time to finish. And what question? Oh, the other big question is, can we work with partners? So no, because no one else can write your novel, right? I will say though, I purposefully planned, we'll have one last little project after this one, but it's a really silly, really, really fun one that we'll do in a small group. And I saved that for right after NaNoWriMo, which will be after we get back from winter break. And that will be kind of our last big partner thing, but no one can write your novel but you, right? It's your story to tell. So NaNoWriMo is an on your own thing, yeah.
Is it okay if you have like a story that you've already finished, but you just add like a ton of stuff?
I wouldn't go with one that you finished. Nope, I would do one that's unfinished or something brand new, yes.
Can we use AirPods?
Yeah. So for at this point, you now can bring out AirPods and get headphones while you're working on your brainstorm. Yeah.